good with it? The Onora boys are in the building. Lucky Lefty podcast. I'm Shaun Davis. Of course, that dude showing off his one Jacksonville Jaguar shirt that he
Wait
has
a minute.
in
I
his
got others.
wardrobe.
I have others. Don't worry.
This is the original Lucky Lefty himself, Malik Zaire. We are brought to you by Onora Whsikey, OnoraWhsikey.com. That premium American whiskey, OnoraWhsikey.com. And if you're going to drink, by all means, make sure that you do so.
Responsibly.
You got to do it responsibly. Left, let me ask you a question. My wife tried to get me to do something that was almost a challenge.
A challenge.
Yeah, it was a challenge. She challenged me to get the Bobby Brown Gumby
The Bobby Brown Gumby.
when I get back to Chicago.
Okay.
She was like, "You can pull it off."
Mm.
Now, I told her, "You're out of your mind," because, if that's the case, I might as well go back to the every little step I take video and rock rock the tight shorts with with the wi- with, with the undershirt with the suspenders. I'm like, man, I'm like, what are we talking about? So we're gonna talk about things today and challenges that might sound a little bit kind of strange, right? We're also going to talk about recruit and develop. Notre Dame, over the last 5 years, has had one of the best records of recruiting and developing players for the NFL. I think they ranked sixth amongst all schools, which is kind of ironic because I don't think a lot of people would consider Notre Dame a development school as far as big time athletes. And we're going to reference a fantastic story. We have to give credit to whom credit is due. Pete Sampson, who covers the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for The Athletic, wrote an incredible story where he broke down the numbers of the recruiting classes since 2019 and development and how guys ended up in the NFL, where they were ranked when they committed to Notre Dame. We'll dig into that a little bit. But, let me tip my cap. Well, I was about to tip my cap to you, but shouldn't you be tipping your cap to me? Because I think Chicago saved the Lakers last night, if I'm not mistaken.
Chicago saved the
'Cause
Lakers.
that was a horrible LeBron game, if we're going to keep it real.
That was a horrible LeBron James game last night.
So I'm just saying.
How do you come up with something so diabolical?
I'm just saying.
Saying nonsense. That's what I don't understand. Because how do you take a performance of that magnitude at year 20, game 1 against a guy that everybody's hyping like this is some rival? But I'll save that for the petty train. I got something for that later.
All I'm saying is, who was the best player on the court last night?
Anthony Davis.
Oh, okay, that's all. That's it.
But that's because it's LeBron inspired. Anthony Davis wasn't playing this deep in the playoffs.
My point is, if AD does not play like the best player on the court, LeBron ain't winning the series. It don't matter.
Now LeBron ain't winning the series.
Not if AD doesn't show up, he's not.
LeBron been doing this too long not to be an important piece to the playoffs.
Okay.
They just won, and what they did at away. What are we talking about?
Well, you know what? Sacramento won a game at Golden State. You act like Golden State is scared to go on the road and win games.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, that game 7 was on the road, right?
What we talking about, Jared Vanderbilt?
Wait a minute.
What was he doing to Steph Curry yesterday?
What do you mean?
Yeah, putting Steph Curry.
I know he needed that double team on that last possession. I know that.
Okay, and he put up a wild shot.
I
whatever.
know that. I know
They
that.
gotta. The whole thing is Golden State gotta hit more threes, and they hit a
That's
lot of threes yesterday, and it wasn't enough, and
that's
lost
what
by
they
10.
do. I'll
They
tell
gotta
you
hit
one
more.
thing.
They can't hit more.
I'll tell you one thing. If the Lakers aren't up double digits in the fourth quarter, they're going to give the game away
They're
because
not.
they're a
They're not
dumb
because
team
they
down
have
the
a
stretch.
fast track to the basket. Fast track to the basket. Nobody's
Look,
guarding
you
LeBron. They
you
had how many
this is
points they have in the paint?
this is a moment of clarity. You fully expect D'Angelo Russell to play like that every game? Tell the
He
truth.
had
Tell the,
19. If he
tell the
can get us
truth.
19, that's good.
He's not even going to get you 10 some games. You
Yeah,
know the
that's
truth.
right.
You know the truth.
What do you mean?
You
He's
know
taking
the,
good
you
shots.
know the truth.
He's
You
taking
know
good
the truth.
shots. He's taking good shots.
The good thing about D'Angelo Russell is he's being defended by one of the worst defenders in the world, and that's Jordan Poole.
Jordan Poole's going to lose them the series. That's what
Oh
taking
man,
shots like that. What is that?
that cat Jordan Poole has absolutely zero interest in playing defense. Zero, zero. So yeah, that was it. Man, I love the game though. I think you're gonna get similar games, in my opinion. Similar games throughout the series, back and forth. I think both teams can win on the road. So we'll see. We'll
It's
see.
definitely one that makes the NBA playoffs worth watching, and then you get follow that up with the now I think is over Suns and Nuggets series. I thought that was gonna play a little better. It might get some uptick.
Boy, let me tell you something. Who's more unreliable, Kawhi or Chris Paul, bro,
Who's more Chris Paul for sure.
in the playoffs?
Because at least Kawhi finished. You know,
Man,
Chris
look,
Paul can never finish.
never, never. It's absolutely insane, man.
Been in the league just as damn near as long as LeBron and can't finish. One season, one playoff series without getting hurt.
Oh boy, shout out to the New Jersey Devils, man, who sent Patrick Kane and the Rangers home. Put somebody on the petty train for that as well. Lucky Lefty Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, CFB Nation. That's right. Great content. Ryan Roberts, all of his content, CFB All American. Just go to iTunes and Apple Podcasts, right? Well, go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, search CFB Nation, and lock in with all of our great content. Man, we greatly appreciate you. We're going to be exclusive at CFB Nation once the fall begins. So you want to lock in with us over at CFB Nation right now. We give you the audio edible each and every day. Home of the Misguided Passion. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. You already know we spin it different. Some interesting things, bro. Let's talk about the post-spring top 25 power rankings. This is post-spring. Post-spring. Where would you put your money that Notre Dame comes in at?
Bottom 15.
You would say bottom 15. All right. You would be
Middle of the
right.
pack towards the bottom.
Yeah. Let's see. The Georgia Bulldogs, remain at the top, number one. Coming in at number two, the Michigan Wolverines. Man, you know what? Michigan has been on a run, especially in the class of 2024 recruiting rankings. It's been crazy, but I think that's about to come to a pause because Notre Dame is about to be on a run probably over the next month or so, heading to the official visits in June. Florida State comes in at number four. For some reason, I feel like Florida State is a little bit too high.
Yeah, they need Florida State for the college football sake.
Well, I'm sorry, they come in at three. My apologies, Left, but they were ranked four before the spring. They move
Because
up
they
to three
have
after
a
the spring.
quarterback. That's how the power of having a quarterback that people believe is going to be in New York at some point.
Yeah,
Your team going to be in the top five easily. So, Sam Hartman gets us in the 25, but it just shows that if we had Jordan Travis, we would be a top five team right now.
You think, wait a minute, that's interesting, Left. Why do you think Jordan Travis would make Notre Dame a better team? Is that just who he is as a quarterback, or is it just perception
Jordan
from you?
Travis not on Florida State. Florida State's not a top 3 team.
Mm,
Nobody's gonna put them in the because who else other than Jordan Travis are you looking at like, man, like they got this guy and this guy and this guy like you can do for Georgia, like you can do for Alabama, like you can do for other schools. So yeah, I think they're riding heavily on what they believe Jordan Travis is going to be like going into the season. But come on, Florida State just came on the scene last year. So how
No,
good?
no, I'll push back on that. I think Mike Norvell, for what he walked into, he had to really deal with the nuts and bolts of that program because it was a shambles. And I think he's done an incredible job. You know what it was though? He made the decision. You remember when they came to Notre Dame? I think Notre Dame beat them by like 20, but Jordan Travis and that Florida State offense just kept scoring. Like Notre Dame had to keep scoring that night because Jordan Travis kept coming. He just kept coming. And I think in that moment, he decided to make Jordan Travis the face of their program and their offense. And once he did that, Jordan Travis kind of bloomed. And now coming back as a leader in his final season, I think they get to kind of fulfill or, realize the full manifestation of that decision that he made at that game. Because Notre Dame was pounding Florida State early in that game. And Jordan Travis just kept coming, man. And it was almost like, man, this kid is relentless. And I think that was the first sign that you saw the type of player that Jordan Travis was eventually going to be.
Yeah, you got to see a lot of a potential and a lot of talent in that game. Especially going against on primetime TV, having the ability to keep fighting and keep going. So it was good to see that in that
Yeah.
aspect. I just think that once the expectations in the preseason come on, what is the response going to be? And that usually changes a quarterback alone. And
Mm.
it's a different expectation. You got to put on the show when you're expected to win every game, as opposed to putting on the show when they didn't think you was going to win, but now you're impressing people because you're on the radar. It's a different type of athlete it takes to play when you are already out there. They got the scouting report on you. They
Yeah.
know who you are. You're not sneaking up on nobody. They game planning for you specifically. So when there's no surprises, you can't just, you get the success of the guy that comes in and starts and has an amazing first game. Yeah, because they don't know you.
Hmm.
So they don't know you got a cannon. They don't know that making people miss or you good at this and that. But when you 2 seasons in, are you still, making it hard for the defense? So it's now that Jordan Travis is in that expectation light, how is he going to respond this season? And it's going to be tough for him.
They started out with LSU, of course, which is the big time matchup. But eh, I just think it's a lot of hype. I think they're a solid program. I think Mike Norvell has done an incredible job to get them to this point. Uh, they did get some nice transfers, right? They got Braden Fisk, defensive tackle for Western Michigan that Notre Dame won. Matter of fact, they defeated Notre Dame in that race. Jared Verse coming back when he was a top 10 pick in the NFL draft was huge for their defense. And we're going to talk about the top defenses returning, which has a surprise at number 10. We'll talk about that in the second half of the show when we talk about the defensive upside of Notre Dame. But coming in at number 4, USC Trojans. They were previously ranked 7 before spring ball. I understand why, right?
Yeah,
When you get Anthony Lucas and Bear Alexander as transfers as defensive tackles, the biggest question was always the USC defense. They're much better in the trenches right now, without question. Getting those two players to come out there to SC. And the offense, I mean, I'm sure most people think they're going to continue to hum at the same level that they always have. Getting Marshawn Lloyd, the running back from South Carolina, that helps as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously USC is addressing what they've had an issue with for so many years, and that's just a fierce defense. Especially, but that back end is still vulnerable in many ways. But when you have a really good front seven, as Georgia has displayed, that back end can be suspect in a lot of times because they don't have to cover as much.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um, I do think they are making the adjustments, but everything just seems so easy to make. All these things are easy to make when you have a really good quarterback. So now it's like, oh, we'll just put some window dressing over here. We'll add a receiver over here. We'll get a couple transfers, no big deal. And now when you step back and look at the team, yeah, they got a Heisman quarterback, but now, oh, look at this piece. Oh, look at that piece. Oh, they just all look so much better. So it will be interesting to see how they progress during the season. And the Pac-12 is a tough conference this year. I think outside of USC playing us, they got Oregon State that's going to be tough, Utah that's going to be tough, or Oregon that's going to be tough, UCLA that's going to be a problem. Gave them a problem last year, so it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Man, look, that last go around in the Pac-12 definitely is going to be challenging, right? Because there's some really good quarterback play out there in the Pac-12, bro. I look for DJ Uagalele, who we talked about extensively yesterday. I look for him to be rejuvenated at Oregon State. We already know what the second version of Lefty, Lucky Lefty at Washington. We already know what Michael Penix is going to
Michael
do.
Penix, you
Right?
got Bo Nix, you got DJ, you got Colorado and what they trying to do over there.
The doors out there. And then you have
Caleb Williams at SC.
Dante Moore possibly starting as a true freshman at UCLA.
More UCLA, Arizona State, Jaden Rashada, whoever they gonna play.
Oh man, you gonna throw Drew Pine in the mix, dog?
I don't know what they got going on. I'm just saying Arizona State can be. They got some transfers. Then who else? Who else in the Pac-12?
Oh man,
who else in the Pac-12? I'm trying to think.
Well, the Utah is returning their quarterback. Utah. He's been there for like 50 years. So
Cam Rising. You got SC, tough. Oregon State, tough. UCLA is going to be something. Washington is going to be the underdog in this whole thing. Oregon puts up 100 points a game in the Pac-12. So, I mean, every game, Colorado's going to be even better this year. So I don't know who's going to come out of the Pac-12, honestly.
Yeah.
That's probably the most exciting conference this year because the SEC ain't. Mississippi State, nobody care about. Vanderbilt there, whatever, Kentucky, whatever. You really just want to watch whoever Bama, LSU, Florida's gonna be trash this year. LSU games, Alabama games, Georgia games.
Yeah.
But in Tennessee, possibly. Maybe South Carolina. Other than that, I'm watching all Pac-12 games.
I mean, you're out there, bro. It's not a stretch for you. We have to stay up super late on the East Coast and the Midwest.
Even Cal got a quarterback. A quarterback transfer up there. I think so. Yeah, I'm watching Pac-12 games. Big Ten, ain't nobody playing the Big Ten. Who's Michigan State's quarterback? Exactly. Nobody cares.
Man, look. Coming in next at 5.
State quarterback, who cares? I'll go ahead.
They were previously ranked second. Now they're ranked 5th. And that's the Ohio State Buckeyes. I can understand why they dropped to 5. I actually expected them to drop a little bit more When you find out that they're going and taking left tackle transfers and that gave up over 40 pressures last year and committed 21 penalties at left tackle, and they have a need to add that type of player to their offensive line that has struggled during the spring, you're like, okay. And you bring into the what? Into focus that neither Kyle McCord or Devin Brown are on the same level as CJ Stroud, in our opinion. They do have Carnell Tate, who's been absolutely fantastic. They have a deep running back tandem. And then their defense returns a lot of great players, to be honest, man. Jack Sawyer and JT Tuamolo. Uh,
Ohio State doesn't have a good quarterback,
that
so
that
they're not worried about him.
now the 16, dude, Nick Saban must be, I just don't get it. Either they are bringing back the greatest defense that Nick Saban has ever had, because I just don't understand how you see this Alabama Crimson Tide offense putting up points right now. I just don't, bro. I don't. They have
Because
quarterback
with
issues.
Tommy down there, it's at least going to take 2 years. He's not the type of dude go down there and Joe Brady the thing and just pop off.
That's true.
I
And
think
from
Coach
what
Kelly might be the only coach to be transferable place to place and have a solid start where it's like, okay, it's pretty consistent. He give us about 10 games, 8 games, whatever.
the crazy thing is, Caleb Downs appears to be a dude. He appears to be a dude. The safety out of Georgia, the true freshman out of Georgia.
Safety.
He was practicing with the team during their bowl preparation.
Right.
He reported early, and he has taken the secondary by storm, according to most close to the program. So he's that dude, So, and remember the two running backs that they brought in. So, you get Justice Haynes, and then the other kid, the kid that rode in the Lamborghini with Marcus. His name was Skip.
Richard Young.
Richard Young. Thanks, Left. And Richard Young.
They got Jackson Haynes or whatever that kid name is. They say he's a monster too.
Oh, Justice Haynes out of Georgia. Yeah, Justice Haynes out of Georgia. So that duo comes in. And Nick might be going back to more of a pro tough offense, running the ball, play action, especially with Tommy as the OC, rather than wide open, 3-4 wide receivers, under what, Steve Sarkisian started. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be a easier time for Tommy with the type of guys he got. Good grief. You just turn around and hand the ball off. You're gonna get improvement.
Yeah.
He's good with them tight ends. You're gonna see some of that in there.
So I guess they might be ranked.
They don't have a better
they need to be.
I can say that, but they're gonna have some. They're gonna have a good team. Obviously, it's Nick Saban.
Yeah, LSU moves up a spot after the spring to 7. They return a lot of starters. Jaden Daniels comes back. Of course, man, it's LSU. They always seem to have receivers in the fold.
They're gonna have somebody.
And then, you have star linebacker Harold Perkins Jr. coming back along with the class that they brought in 23. So I don't want to spend too much time on LSU. We move to the Big Ten, and Penn State comes in at number 8. Penn State, I just don't trust, bro.
Yeah, Penn State will drop out. They'll be bottom 25 by the end of the season. They'll lose to Ohio State in a close game. They'll get crushed by Michigan or something. You know how that goes.
So they go to the horseshoe this year, and then Michigan comes to them.
Yeah, they'll lose both of those and fall right. Illinois will be competitive with them this year. They might be 3 or 4 with Illinois in the Big Ten.
Clemson, this is where I start to disagree because there's no way Clemson should be ranked in front of Notre Dame. I can't see it. Based upon what?
They coach.
I guess.
That's it. You can't say nothing else. What do they have better than Notre Dame other than the coach's accomplishments right now? Nothing.
Notre Dame is better at quarterback. Notre Dame is better on the offensive line.
Defensive line.
No, they're not better on the defensive line, bro.
Collectively, yes.
No, I'll disagree with
Lost
that.
KJ Jefferson, Brian Brzee. They lost all their guys.
No, bro.
They lost Miles Murphy. They lost
Yeah,
Miles.
I'm
KJ
not
Jefferson.
saying that it might be even, but Notre Dame's not better. And anything is a wash.
Okay, well, Washington.
If you want to say it's a wash at defensive line, then I'll give you that. They returned 8 people on defense, bro.
But lost 3 D linemen.
Yeah, but Xavier Thomas and Davis come back.
Xavier Thomas, a 5th-year guy who's supposed to be a 3-year guy that can't get right and stays hurt. I'm not worried about it.
You're being a tad bit disrespectful right now, bro.
No, but in comparison to all the depth that we have and all the young guys that we have coming up, you're saying that's a better D-line than our D-line room?
Yeah, but you're comparing guys. They have young guys coming up too, Left. They recruit too.
I agree with that.
Matter of fact, they recruit D-line probably better. They might be, if you talk about D-line recruitment,
they've been great. They've been great.
Maybe Georgia is the only program that recruits better at the D-line.
For this year, we have a better D-line room than Clemson. Clemson lost a lot of experience.
Left.
And I'm not saying they don't have guys. I just believe we have a better room.
Left. I just don't want you to go viral on the wrong thing, bro.
You say we have a better room? I'm not saying they may have 1 or 2 players that obviously they got a 5-star in there somewhere. You know, they got some individuals that are highly touted. As a room and production level, I think we will be better this year. There's nothing wrong with that.
Man, I can't rock with you on that one. We can just agree to disagree. I'm trying to look out for you. I promise you, this clip is gonna come. This clip is gonna come back up down the line somewhere.
They got some linebackers, though. You know, Clemson always has some linebackers.
Oh, Carter and Simpson, man.
Freeze, Miles Murphy, KJ Jefferson gone, Trenton Simpson gone. That's their whole.
But you keep saying that, but they was historically reload at D-line.
That's what we did to all those guys that got drafted this year. Put 37 on them. 37 to what? 37 to what? Nothing.
I agree.
So it's like even they best guys they had last year wasn't good enough to beat us. So they all got drafted. So what does that make them going into next year? We have both our first-round tackles coming back. We got Zeke Corral that's pretty solid, and the 2 guards that are going to be fine where they at. So
okay, not Simpson, Trotter Jr. That's what I meant to say.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. So you're basically saying you're taking Notre Dame based upon what could be, because Clemson has dudes on the D-line and at the linebacker position that have done it.
And those guys have got whooped last year and also got drafted.
Once again, you're picking one game.
Okay, we're just saying.
Wait. Let me finish. You pick one game.
Yes.
They were a top 10 defense.
Yes.
You can say what you want to say.
They were a top 10.
They were a top 10 defense, even with that one game, right? Michigan was a top 10 defense, and TCU ran all over them. It's easy for one. Every good team has one game.
I agree with that. Now, where all those same guys being a top 10 defense, getting whooped by us, are all gone.
They're not all gone. You keep saying they're all gone.
We just named 5 guys that got drafted this year. Miles Murphy, he was a 5-star. Brian Brzee, he was a 5-star.
Okay.
KJ Jefferson, he was a 5-star.
Okay.
Jeremiah Trotter Jr., he was a 4-star.
No. Simpson got drafted this year.
Simpson.
Trotter Jr. is back. Carter's back.
But all those guys
Xavier Thomas is back.
Xavier
Davis is back.
Xavier Thomas has been there. Those guys
what's your point?
That they lost the guys that were experienced that they had last year, and I believe that our room is more talented and deeper than what they have coming back.
I don't know about
the best parts of the room are graduated.
You keep saying more talented, bro.
Isaiah Foskey leaving our D-line room isn't it as an impact as it is for them having 4 of their best players in the D-line room get drafted and leave. You're telling me that they have a 4 that's better than what they just left? No, because if that was the case, they wouldn't have started.
Wait a minute. When the 4 came in that just left, look at who they were replacing. They were replacing Big Daddy Wilkins.
Right, but
And
those
that crew, and you didn't think, you were like, man, how could they replace that crew? Well, that's what happens when you're a good program. You reload.
And you reload, right? But those guys were freshmen. They weren't who they are when they got drafted. So this is the year to get them. That's what I'm saying. The same thing for Ohio State. Ohio State doesn't have.
I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give you the perfect example of what one game. This is how one game could throw it off, right? Notre Dame put 40 points up on Clemson?
Yes.
Right? When they beat them in 2020 at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened the second time around? What that Clemson defense do?
Well, they had Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, no. I asked you what did the defense do to the Notre Dame offense. I didn't ask you what Trevor Lawrence did. I asked you what that same defense that you like, oh. And what happened the next time?
Like Trevor Lawrence on your team.
Okay.
Elevates the whole team. That defense looked regular. When Trevor Lawrence came back, everybody was like, okay, we can play who we are. Prime example. When DJ was in there, both times, that defense was giving up any and everything. Because why? Because on the opposite side of the ball, they were 3 and out, 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 3
left.
But when Trevor Lawrence was on that second time, they're driving down the field, scoring points. They got momentum. It was just like,
See, this is why I call cap. Because you weren't even high on the defensive line coming into the spring left.
I wasn't.
You weren't. Now all of a sudden, you've gone from not being high on the defensive line to now they're better. Now they're better than Clemson's defensive line.
Before the spring started, you're absolutely right. Wasn't high on. Saw how it developed. Saw some guys pop and flash. Have more confidence in the depth at the end of spring. Okay. I always told you though that as a collective, we'll have more production than last year, which gives us the depth and talent and potential that I think we have. And I think that as a group is better than what Clemson's going to produce this year because of who they lost and the youth that they have coming up. We have vets and youth and talent. They got youth and talent. That's why I think we are better. And we also have depth.
All right. Move on, man. I don't think they deserve to be in the top 10. That's just my opinion. The Texas Longhorns, who haven't proven a darn thing, are 10 after spring. Look.
Off of potential.
Tennessee is 11. They only returned 6 people on defense. They returned a lot on the offensive line. They returned running backs. Hendon Hooker's gone. Joe Milton II takes over. Brew McCoy, he's still there. They lost Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt. I don't know what he's going to have to work with at the wide receiver position. They did get Dante Thornton, the transfer from Oregon, to add some speed to the offense. But Notre Dame eventually comes in at 13. And this is where I would put Washington at around 8 or 9 in my rankings. And then I will put Notre Dame probably right behind Washington.
Okay.
I will put I think Washington deserves to be ahead of Notre Dame right now.
Yeah.
Right?
I can agree with that.
I think their defense is highly underrated. I think that the defensive backfield is really good. Really good.
They always have some good DBs for sure.
Really good. And when you have good DBs in that conference, it goes a long way. They have
for sure it is.
Yes, and they have 2 young pass rushers that are going to get better. They return. They went out and they got some transfer running backs to come in from Arizona State. They got a kid, and then they got a transfer that came in from Mississippi State, if I'm not mistaken, to add to what they already have is like a top. I might be lowballing saying top five. I was about to say they have a top five wide receiver room. It might be top three.
Yeah.
Man, it might be top three. So I would put in my rankings, I would have Washington around 8 and Notre Dame around 9. Now, interestingly, this is what they had to say about Notre Dame after the spring. They returned 6 players on offense, 6 players on defense. Marcus Freeman hoped to have a quarterback competition stretching into August. No, he didn't. That won't happen after Tyler Buckner decided to transfer to Alabama, leaving former Wake Forest starter Sam Hartman as the man in South Bend this coming season. He threw for nearly 13,000 yards with 110 touchdowns during 5 seasons with the Demon Deacons. Tailback Logan Diggs, the second leading rusher last season, entered the transfer portal recently. Jaden Greathouse, who they originally had as a tight end on ESPN, looked like he'll be able to contribute right away. The Fighting Irish lost top pass rushers Isaiah Whsikey and Jason Adamiola, nose guard Jason Onye, and Ian Jordan Patello made some strides coming off the edge during the spring. So that's their thoughts.
Yep. I mean, I do think at the end of the day, we have a chance to do something special. And Washington, I think, is the lead runner. Just from a paper, looking at the paper perspective, I think they're really good. And so where we go from here, I think it's obvious that there's going to be teams that take themselves out of that top spot. I believe Texas is going to take themselves out of that top 10 spot. I believe Penn State is going to take themselves out of that top 10 spot, where we don't have to do too much for some of these teams.
Penn State does it by default every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
They start hot. You're going to see a lot of Penn State clips early in September and a couple in August. They're going to maybe pull off a big win early. And then you're going to get down to November. Penn State playing an Iowa team late in the winter, playing Wisconsin late in the snow, and get beat or something or some terrible game, and now they drop out of the race. You know how that goes. So I do believe that half of the teams in the top 10 are going to take care of themselves. What we've always been good at as Notre Dame is being good late in the season. If we have to have a rally stretch where we have to win all the late October, rest of November, we do that.
Mm-hmm.
We do that. We usually lose the season early on, like Ohio State first game, Georgia third game. We usually lose our season and be bottom of the playoffs trying to get in early. So if we can start hot and finish how we usually finish, we can be a team that can make it in the playoffs deep.
Well, the schedule they have should be able to yield a hot start for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Especially early.
But
first
look,
game.
It's all about September 23rd, right? It's all about September 23rd. Like you said, that is the true catapult of this entire season. And from that standpoint, USC is right behind that game, actually. After they got Ohio State and USC, within like 2 or 3 weeks. So, that is the heart of the season right there, starting September 23rd. That's why Sam Hartman was brought here. And it was good to hear that Sam Hartman has kind of, talked to people inside the program, that Sam Hartman's demeanor has kind of evolved after Tyler left.
Yeah, you get that.
Whereas that, the whole lotion on the back thing, he doesn't have to do it anymore.
No.
He doesn't have to praise Tyler anymore. They don't have to worry about Tyler's feelings anymore. He's the dude, and you're starting to see that. You're starting to hear from people inside the program and players that, okay, yeah, he's moving a little different.
And that Dove soap done got him right.
Dub so
Something turned him up.
Lucky
Walk
Lefty podcast.
off of him, man. He started turning around.
Would you rather Notre Dame start outside the top 10 in a year like this?
Well, I know that we're a team that always gets better later. It gets greater later for Notre Dame. So not starting, and especially seeing the teams that are in the top 10, I'm not worried. So you can put a Penn State in front of us because they'll take themselves out of the race. One of them things where
Yeah,
you it's the tortoise and the hare.
yeah.
Got a lot of hares in that top 10. So we just gonna slow climb our way and do what we do best. We might pop off a little early when we whoop up on Ohio State. So we do
Mhm.
got to get some of these teams up out of the top 10. But other than that, listen, you might see a totally different top 10 by October. I'll put it to you like that. You might see a top 10 different by October.
Lucky Lefty podcast. And one of the things I find very interesting before we let go, as I said before, our colleague Pete Sampson, who covers Notre Dame for the Athletic, did an incredible job. It really was a solid article, basically talking about Notre Dame and their development of players left. And it was spot on, right? Look, Notre Dame has not produced linebackers and safeties. They've done a poor job when it comes to line. Kyle Hamilton is like the unicorn
Yeah.
at the safety position when it comes to recruitment, development, NFL, right? Tight ends and O line, that's what we do. That's what we do. And they've done it with 4-star and some 3-star offensive linemen. Of course, the 4 stars end up a little bit better, but Notre Dame has been able to do it without getting the 5-star offensive linemen. They've been able to develop and allow them to matriculate and be really good NFL players. Like,
That's because of the coach. You
uh,
have a good coach in there to
uh,
do that.
so you're saying coaching is important, left? Is that what we're saying?
Well, when you're talking about developing superstars and superhumans
Yeah,
and not getting 5 stars all the time
yeah,
and doing that, that has to be a reflection of the coach,
yeah,
and when you have a Hall of Fame type of coach like that, you're gonna turn out more players than you might have on a regular recruiting level. Like Charles Jagasaw. I think he
mhm,
came specifically because of East End, He even said
yeah,
it.
yeah. One of the most incredible things that stood out in this article is that the Irish was solid in developing 3-star prospects. Then Notre Dame has been able to get in 3 stars, develop them, get them to the NFL, but they're the worst in taking or getting the 5-star talent that makes it to the draft boards. That's the challenge that faces Marcus Freeman and his staff. And you cannot miss. Like when you have the ball set up on the tee with a kid like Justin Scott, who's 70 miles from campus, going to a Catholic school with plenty of connections to Notre Dame in the Chicagoland area, you cannot miss on this kid. Like when you have 5-star talent, Elijah Rushing out of Arizona, another defensive lineman, according to some, the best rushing in the 2024 class. They were out on Elijah Rushing just over a month ago. Al Washington, Marcus Freeman, what they've done to get him back on campus and then to get him set up for an official visit in June and to pretty much be in the top 3, in my opinion, for his services, it's an incredible job. So the one thing that stood out to me in this article, stars matter along the defensive line. You cannot win championships by going and getting 3 stars and developing them. Stars matter. The schools that get the 5 stars along the defensive line, those are the schools, the Clemsons, the Georgias, the Alabamas. Those are the ones that reign supreme and seem to always have an advantage in the trenches, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. That was a great job, him pointing that out. The stars do matter. Like you might be able to develop on the offensive line with 3 and 4 stars. You might be able to go get productive running backs that are 3 or 4 stars. But quarterbacks and defensive line, you better go get the dogs. Because because that development stuff, and of course, Georgia was able to win back to back with Stetson Bennett. But heck, Stetson Bennett was surrounded by 5 stars everywhere. Now, if you're going to supplement, if Notre Dame is about to supplement their quarterbacks with 5 stars everywhere, then by all means. But, just this stat as well. Draft percentage since 2000, this is from 2009 to 2019, as far as recruitment and then developing into draft picks. Notre Dame only trails Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, Georgia, Florida, and Clemson in draft percentage of players. At 23% of the players that come through Notre Dame end up getting drafted. That's pretty darn good. That's pretty darn good. And this is pretty much based upon the Brian Kelly era. So if Marcus Freeman takes it to the next level, we fully expect. I looked at least 3 mock drafts, at least 3 way too early mock drafts for next year. And both of them had Blake Fisher and Joe Alt in the top 20.
Rightfully so.
And I looked at 3, and 2 of them had Blake Fisher and Joe Alt in the top 20. One did not have Blake Fisher in the top 20. So once again, offensive line, dude, every other year, Notre Dame is going to put some type of offensive lineman in the draft. I'm sure in 2 years, 3 years, Charles Jagasaw will be a first-round pick. Gerby Lambert, if he chooses to come to Notre Dame, it's going to be Peter Jones. It's going to be a first-round pick. That's not the problem. The problem is, a shout-out to them getting the Dixon kid from Miami in the 25 class, the big 300-pounder, to commit, because you need those type of guys along the defensive line to really take the next step. And we're going to talk about defensive upside coming up next. But Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman and what they're doing with this 24 class is absolutely amazing that they're in on Elijah Rushing. And look, I told people, I forget, it was a recent video where a couple of people that work for the same company as the individual that crystal balled Justice Scott to Miami. 2 people that work for the same company came out and said, Notre Dame is still in a great spot with Justice Scott, and I fully expect them to kind of win the day.
Yeah, that's right.
So when I was like, crystal balled by who? Based upon what? A conversation about a non-official visit? Like, come on, man. Like, what are we really talking about? And at the end of the day, this is the thing. Now, he did a recent interview where he talked about paying attention to all the recruits that Michigan has added recently with the Smith twins, Jaden Davis. He's paying attention. Why? Because at the time that I first spoke to Justice Scott, guess who was leading his recruitment?
Ooh.
Michigan and Mike Elston. Michigan was the program that he talked the most about the first time I spoke to him.
Look at that.
The next week, Notre Dame showed up at his school and everything changed.
Everything changed.
But before then, he talked about Michigan, the program, how they have accountability, how he loves the campus. He talked about all of that. Michigan was the school. And then Notre Dame came in and changed everything. And now you started to hear him talk about Michigan again. It's like, look, that's why I laugh at the whole Miami stuff personally, because I'm like, that's really not even him. That's not even his vibe. It's not. I mean, who wouldn't love to play for Miami?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I'm saying? But that's not even his vibe. It's not even his vibe, man. So you just take everything with a grain of salt right now and make it to June, man. Just make it to June. So that's three individuals that work for the same company as the person at Crystal Ball Miami are saying Notre Dame right now. So everybody that was panicking, I had people hitting me in my Twitter inbox, my Facebook messages. I'm like, dude, relax. What are we talking about?
Yeah, relax.
He's leaning based upon what? Like, give me the information. Give me the information. He's leaning based upon what? It's
Maybe because he's a high prospect, so people just can't trust it.
even Tom Lemming chimed in recently and said he would be shocked if Justin Scott didn't end up in Notre Dame. I mean, look, man, that's why. Look, where's my caps? I'm not in my office, dude. So I would tip my cap, man. Marcus Freeman and Al Washington are working their tails off, bro.
That's right.
At this, Notre Dame needs to stand up. This fan base needs to stand up. As much vitriol as they threw as Al Washington last year and early in the 24 process, man, stand on your feet and give that man a round of applause for
That's
the
right.
work he's doing along with Marcus Freeman. They kicking tail right now, dude. They kicking tail.
Tail.
They're still in on Marquise Lightfoot. Marquise Lightfoot is like I talk to Al Washington just as much as I talk to any coach, regardless of whether or not they rank players ahead of him defensively. They're talking to him. The Burgess kid out of Chicago, out of Simeon. Yes, Notre Dame's at the top of his list. I'm telling you, man. Notre Dame has recognized that they have to go get the dogs on the defensive line. That's the one great thing that I'll say about Marcus Freeman and what he's recognized. He's recognized I got to go get quarterbacks and I got to go get dogs on this defensive line. That's the one thing you've been asking, Left. Hey, all this chirping from the back and having all these defensive backs talking trash, that ain't nothing. When you can have them dudes in the trenches talking trash, that changes the total perception of your defense and your team.
Yep.
And Marcus Freeman and Al Washington are attempting to do that. And you have to give them credit, man. You have to give them credit.
You give them credit for the fact that Marcus Freeman is able to craft and carve out his whole infrastructure and do it in a way where people can trust this type of retention and recruitment.
Mm.
I know we've had a lot of happenings of recruitment as of late and a lot of weary things, and it's crazy because this is only year 2.
Mm.
The man barely put his feet in the water. And a lot has transpired from recruitment to coaching changes to people leaving and coming and going and staying.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing you can feel the best about is one or two things. The first thing is that we're going to be in the conversation with the top players, the people that we usually wouldn't be in conversation with. So the Keon Keeleys, the Richard Youngs, they get on campus.
Mm-hmm.
Which is different feeling for a program being traditionally great, but can't find the right 5-star to at least give us interest. We get interest now.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that Marcus Freeman, if he gets a guy, you know that guy wants to be there for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are we getting the attention and being in the conversation with the best players, which is new for us, we're going to have a chance to get some of them realistically.
Yeah.
We're going to be the right ones. So a Justin Scott, especially being in Chicago, this is a guy we can trust Marcus Freeman can close the deal on because, one, he wants to be there, and two, if you want to be there, Marcus Freeman is recruiting you to be there, it's a 50-50 relationship that can work, and I think it's going to work out for the best, especially, the retention factor. The retention factor is there for Marcus Freeman, and through all this short-term 2-year thing that he's been going through with the happenings, it's still more trustworthy than what we had 10 years of recruiting before.
Look, if I'm reading the tea leaves, right? I told you the very first conversation I had with Justice Scott in 2024. I've been talking to him since he didn't even have an offer from Notre Dame, and I was talking to Justice Scott. 2024, I'll pull up on him at his game, and he's just raving about Michigan. He's raving about Michigan, bro. Raving. Man, let me tell you something. He made me feel uncomfortable because I'm a Notre Dame fan. I'm like, dude, come on, man. If you say Michigan one more time,
we're gonna have to really get into it.
Yeah, I'm trying to be nice, but man,
yeah, like you recruiting is exciting, but it ain't that.
Right. Like, come on, bro. Come on. But he was being honest. Like, and you know when a kid starts talking about things that you didn't even ask for. I just asked the first question, and this kid just started like laying everything out. And I'm like, okay. I leave there, report it. Marcus Freeman shows up the next week.
Yep.
Marcus Freeman leaves, and all of a sudden the kid wants to announce on his birthday where he's going to school. So read the tea leaves. Michigan has been there since the beginning. Notre Dame was the offer he was waiting for, even when he didn't have an offer. Notre Dame connection with his school. Proximity. I've been saying he's not leaving the Midwest. He's a mama's boy. I've been saying that. Been saying it. Notre Dame was on the verge of locking him up, and Ryan Day showed up. And all of a sudden,
unknowingly.
And all of a sudden, we're where we're at now. I read the tea leaves, of course, Georgia. Because I want to ask you a very important question before we get to Notre Dame's defense. Reading the tea leaves, I got Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame. That's what I have. With Georgia and Kirby Smart being who they are, the back-to-back champions, they have a long list of defensive linemen that just got drafted. That's what I have. All this Colorado, USC, Miami. Like, all right, cool. You can take trips, have great trips, talk about how much fun you had, talk about you can see yourself there and all of that. At the end of the day, after that Miami trip, this week he's been talking about Michigan. Right? People covering the game are talking about Notre Dame this week and Justice Scott. And Ohio State is still out there. It's like, I don't care how you slice it or how you want to spin it. It's always going to come back to the same schools in the Midwest when it comes to Justice Scott, dude. It's just the way it is. Does Georgia have a shot? They got more than a shot. Are you kidding me? But this is the question I want to ask you. Based upon the LL, man, you guys jump in as well with this one. Based upon what Pete Sampson did in his research, how much development is really happening at schools like Georgia, Clemson, and Alabama? Because if the dudes are studs on the D line, if we're seeing 5 stars go to these schools and get to the NFL, the talent is the talent.
Yeah.
The physical talent is the talent. My question is, how much development really takes place? It just struck me as being different and strange. Like, yo, when you get to this point, what are we really talking about? Yeah. How much development are we really talking about? When you have 5 stars that are just like, yo, they the dudes. They've been the dudes. It's the same thing with the quarterbacks, right, left. Bryce and CJ have been the dudes in that class since 8th grade. What changed? What changed? So when you talk about quarterback, you talk about defensive line. Yo, the dudes are the dudes. They are. How much development was done by Ryan Day and Bill O'Brien? for C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young? I mean, I'm asking you, how much development really took place? Or did they come there pretty darn good quarterbacks and just needed a little polishing?
Yeah, I think they were the right fits for where their talent was, what their talent allowed them to be. And so because they were uber talented, going to a place that can foster that type of talent with other uber talented guys and then have some good coaches along with that, you get a pretty good product. I mean, I think that's the definition of what Caleb Williams did. Took his talent and went to a coach that can develop that talent, that's elite, and went with him wherever he went. And now you can see the success of it. Michael Penix Jr. left Indiana, said his talent was better, went to Washington with the right coach, got some good talent around him at receiver, and now he's possibly a playoff team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Tyler
Yeah,
Buckner, Tyler Buckner with Derrick Henry types at running back
Yeah.
with a crazy super talented defense.
Right.
He may look like a second rounder,
Right. I'm just saying, like, on defensive line, Notre Dame historically, the biggest hero is Matt Balis, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always like 3 or 4 dudes in the class. Matt Balis has to put 20, 30 pounds on them. All right, Matt, we got to throw 30 pounds on this dude, right? And get him to play inside. Georgia's just getting 310-pound dudes off porches down in the
Yeah,
South.
working on coaching. They just working on coaching.
Down in the South. And you know how it is in the South, bro. It's a bench press in every front yard.
Yeah.
The bench press is in the front yard. They don't even go to the school. They just go in the front yard and just, it's crazy. So it's like, man, I'm asking myself just how much development is being taken place. Like, okay, you get guys technique wise, but then the physical gift just takes over. Like, once you teach them the game, the physical gift takes over. And it's going to be really nice to have guys come into Notre Dame where the physical gifts can just take over. Right?
Yeah.
Like a Manti, like a Jalen Smith. Whereas, like, dude, they don't even know what they're doing. Just put them on the field. The physical tools are just too good. It's just too good. And I think that's what you can point out about that Clemson defense last year, right? Plenty of 5 stars. Why was Notre Dame able to do what they did? Why? It had to be something technically that Notre Dame saw, but we predicted it because we saw Florida State do it 2 weeks prior. We were like, oh, snap. Florida State almost averaged 5 yards a pop on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. We can get something done against these dudes. So it's very important, man. And I hope, the little tidbits I gave about Justice Scott, can kind of cool the thoughts of the whole Miami thing. I've always said this is a fight that, look, the fact that Justice Scott did not receive an offer on March 17th, 2023, was one of the biggest whiffs in Notre Dame recruiting history, in my opinion.
Really?
The fact that he had to wait a whole nother month and a half to get an offer from Notre Dame when they sent out all the offers to the 24 kids for March 17th, like they do every year. He didn't get a pot of gold. And this dude is a 5-star in your backyard. To me, that was like the biggest faux pas. That was the opportunity for Notre Dame to lock him up, to get out to such an insurmountable lead in his recruitment. I promise you, dude, I had B. Driscoll calling people like, yo, what's going on? I'm like, yo, what's up with the offer?
Mm.
What are we doing? And eventually it came, but it's like you can't you can't miss out on that because you don't get opportunities for 5-star defensive linemen in your backyard like that. It doesn't happen like that,
Didn't happen like that.
right? I'll give you like the safety situation that he pointed out has been a big failure in development as far as the NFL. You can't let a 5-star safety like Xavier and Wonka get away.
Mm-mm.
You can't. You can't lose him to Iowa. You can't. Why? Because you're not about to go get the Caleb Downs out of Georgia. You're not pulling him.
Not pulling him.
Hey, you got connections in California, but Peyton Woodyard, where did he go? Georgia. He committed early. It's like, man, you have to understand. Man, you have to understand what it is, bro. You have to understand what it is.
Absolutely, and I think that at the end of the day, too, when you recruiting these type of guys, to not give a pot of gold to the hometown is
Bro,
just
look, man.
ultimately the most disrespectful thing you can do.
What let me tell you something, bro. And this is why I don't know, you tell me. Let's say you're in a relationship and you are not doing any of the small things, right? And then all of a sudden, a month later, you start doing all of the small things. Should you get credit for doing that? Or should it be like, okay, finally? Because Notre Dame honestly has been disrespecting the Chicagoland area for a long time from a recruiting standpoint.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they have. They have. They have. But it is what it is. But it goes back to your point. There's no way. No way. But now they're on every big time defensive lineman in the 24 and 25 class. Now Notre Dame is all up on them. All
I mean,
up
they
on
got
everybody. They're on Nate Marshall. They're on Burgess. They're on Scott. They're on Lightfoot. You name the defensive lineman coming out of Chicago. All of a sudden, the defensive lineman just started coming out of Chicago in 24. Like it just started. We just started manufacturing defensive linemen in 24 and 25. They've been there, man. They've been there. You know, when you get opportunities in your backyard, right? Guess who? Another kid. Wait a minute. You realize Illinois has another kid mocked in the top 10 defensively next year? You know how you laugh like, yo, Illinois really has a top 10 defensive back? And then you saw his film and you were like, oh, snap. Yeah, they have a top 10 defensive tackle next year.
mm,
Big Newton out of Florida by the way of Chicago. Look, man, defensive players, impact defensive players are right within reach of Notre Dame, bro, and all of the surrounding states. You just can't miss out on them, man. It's particularly on that back end of safety, linebacker, and defensive line. It is what it is. And I see all the little snide remarks about I know what I know and what I you know, Justice Scott. I don't know. I know what I know. I don't know what you know. I know what I know. I know what I know. So I don't have to overreact to stuff because I know what I know. I don't think there's anybody else covering Justice Scott that talks to him about the Warriors and the Sacramento Kings in the middle of the game.
In the middle of the game.
In the middle of the game.
Well,
not sitting up here overreacting, just crazy stuff, man.
Can't do it.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Come back. Notre Dame's defense. How good can they be? Lucky Lefty podcast. We spin it different. Left, you have spoken glowingly about how you feel about this Notre Dame defensive line after spring practice. You said they're going to be better than Clemson's defensive line.
That's right.
Hey, going out there on the ledge for your squad, Left. I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you at all.
It's true.
Hey, man, I'm not mad at you. It's all good. What if I told you that a team from the WAC is projected to have a better defense than Notre Dame?
I mean, it's the WAC.
Well, not the WAC. I don't even think they're in the WAC anymore. Excuse me for talking out of turn. But what if I told you that one of the academies?
Well, playing against the academies, they play hard, man. They play hard. So I'm sure they got a bunch of seniors, which makes them experienced and wily vets. And then on top of their mental fortitude, I feel like it'd be a hard defense to face each year.
Now, this is interesting because we talked about the power index after the spring. When we hear some of these defensive rankings, it's going to make you question some of the power rankings, right? Well, the number one returning defense is why I question the Georgia Bulldogs.
Right.
Right? Guess who's number 2 Left?
Ooh.
I want you to keep the same energy. But coming in at number 2 is the Clemson Tigers.
Of course. Of course they are.
I'm just saying, Left. They just reload, my brother.
I mean, that's what you call it. But I don't know.
The Michigan Wolverines, even though they don't play against a lot of diverse offenses, people line up and run the ball in the Big Ten the majority of the time. So I don't even know if Michigan's defense is truly tested throughout a full year, but they come in at number 3. Alabama comes in at number 4. They got your boy Kool-Aid on here. They do have a lockdown corner. And they return Dallas Turner coming off the edge and Chris Braswell as well. So.
Not bad.
No. But Jalen Mbakwe in the 24 class is coming. He'll be coming in early. But your boy Desmond Ricks, Keon Keeley, and Caleb Downs are additions that can make an impact on that defense as well. Keon Keeley and Dallas Turner by the middle of the season could be really dangerous, bro. It could be a dangerous combination.
I mean, they're going to be a serious defense overall. And I just think that we need to have the offense to match. Whenever it comes down the road where we have to play these guys, we have to have the offense to match.
That's what it comes down to for you?
Yeah, like if we can score, we could be a top 5 scoring offense, then I'll feel comfortable playing any of these defenses, Because look at Ohio State. Ohio State, horrible secondary, horrible run defense, horrible tackling open space, horrible tackling downfield, horrible tackling behind the line of scrimmage. But when you got a first round receiver, top 5 receiver, top 5, top 2 quarterback, you're good at any game because you can score, keep scoring. It's like the Warriors. The Warriors have no chance to do anything with AD or LeBron. But if they hit enough threes, which they can, they're in every game. So it's one of those things. Top 5 scoring offenses, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, by the way, Klay Thompson was broke in a mug last night. I just want to point that out.
Yeah,
Like, dude, how many wide open shots can you miss, bro?
he was struggling for sure.
Number 5, the Iowa Hawkeyes, bro.
You
And
know,
you
they
know
had
what?
first rounders this year, so
Iowa does defensively. They do so much with less. It's really impressive what they do defensively every year because they had a horrible quarterback, and it was their defense that kept them in the running.
yeah.
Penn
Like that.
State comes in at 6.
They've been
Number
putting
7,
some first rounders lately.
Penn State. Oh, they always have like linebackers, defensive backs. Yeah, they can produce those. Coming in at LSU comes in next. Utah comes in at number 8. Remember, Utah had a group of defensive linemen and linebackers that drove Caleb Williams crazy in the Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah.
All of those kids return. So the front 7 should be
All of
really
those kids
good.
return? Damn.
They lose Clark Phillips, but their defense should be pretty stout.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 9, even without their longtime defensive coordinator, Jim Leonard, the Wisconsin Badgers, bro.
The Wisconsin Badgers. They always got a stout defense, man. And it get cold up here, so the hits hit harder.
Coming in at 10, I'll let you take it from here. The Air Force Falcons.
Whatever. It's hard to play in that environment. So that and then they got some talented dudes that know acclimatized or to that weather, and they senior and they big. That's just a combination for a bad matchup. So they got bad matchups pretty much.
Man, look here, bro. I was shocked to see them.
No, one year that we played them, they had like the most turnovers in the country. At one point, it was like a stat. They had the most turnovers. They're like averaging 4 or 5 turnovers a game, something crazy. When we played them at Air Force, they was averaging the most turnovers in the game. So they have sneaky, really. It's like Marshall leading the country in picks, and then we go throw 2 pick sixes to them.
Did you say that Air Force game was like one of the worst warm-ups you ever had?
I'm telling you, it's just a bad matchup. You know, it's just like women's basketball having a girl that can rebound the best in the country. You're probably going to play in the championship. I mean, it's like a stat. If a girl has the most rebounds in the country, you're most likely going to be in the Final Four in women's basketball. That's a stat.
So Notre Dame is once again at 12 on this list. They're ranked 12. Guess who's ranked in front of them? And I really had to do some research after I saw this, and I said, you know what? I can see why this team is ranked in front of them from a defensive standpoint. The North Carolina State Wolfpack, which over the last 4 years have done a really good job of putting defensive players into the NFL, especially along the defensive line. And what they have coming back, front 7, very, very solid. Drake Thomas, Tanner Ingle, those are the star players at linebacker and safety. And then you get senior Jalen Scott Jr., Devin Beatty, and then the young players coming in, some transfers along that defensive line. They're going to be a handful. And then they got, a big-time transfer, Noah Potter from Cincinnati. So, yeah, I think you like to hear what they say about Notre Dame coming in at number 12.
Yeah,
It said despite some late struggles, Notre Dame's defense remained on the right path in 2022. The challenge ahead for second-year coach Marcus Freeman and coordinator Al Golden is addressing key personnel losses up front and ultimately taking the next step. Notre Dame returns an emerging superstar and sophomore cornerback Benjamin Morrison, who has 6 interceptions as a true freshman and will play at least through 2024. The Irish also have one of the best nation's most seasoned linebacking cores. I agree with that. They are seasoned. I don't know how good they are. With seniors J.D. Bertrand, Jack Kaiser, and Maris Leofow are all back and look forward to combining and contributing to improved play after they had 191 tackles and 18 and a half tackles for loss last season. The fact that they only combined as a trio for 191 tackles is not good. I'm sorry.
It's not good, no.
That's not a good stat.
No.
They talk about Jalen Sneed. They also talk about Jaden Osbury being players to watch. And then they say the secondary has experience with Morrison, DJ Brown, Clarence Lewis, and Cam Hart. To add, Oklahoma State transfer Thomas Harper was a key move, along with sophomore Jaden Mickey, who should have an increased role. Also, look for incoming freshman Christian Gray to contribute, especially this year and in 25. Notre Dame's line is the short 23 through 25. So the line is the question for Notre Dame. They have Howard Cross, Riley Mills, Jordan Patello, and transfer Javante John Baptiste, who plays a significant role. Nana Osafa Mensah is a veteran depth player, but the Irish will look to fast track younger players such as Julian Tuilamaka and Jason Anye, and freshman Donovan Hydish.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, guess who comes in at 13 right behind Notre Dame?
Oh.
A Fighting Illini.
I mean, after getting Devin Witherspoon that high, they probably like, man, they got some guys over there. We don't even know yet.
But let me point something out. We talked about whether or not Florida State was getting too much buzz. They're ranked 18th on this list, Left.
Interesting.
Yeah, Ohio State is ranked 21st, Left.
Really?
Yeah. Shocking.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like you have them ranked in the power rankings, top 5, but returning defense, they're 18th and 21st, respectively. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting to say the least. It makes you think that the teams we might see on paper might actually be that. Nothing foundationally strong, just paper.
Exactly. Paper and hype and quarterback play.
Yeah.
Paper, hype, and quarterback play.
Yeah. So that was interesting in looking at this article. Like, yo, you have them ranked high in the power rankings, but for some reason, you have them ranked pretty low when it comes to the defense that's returning. And, with their defensive coordinator being in his second year, just like Al Golden, you expect the defense to take a step forward. But we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be very interesting. I'll say this. They're currently ranked 12th. I think Notre Dame has an opportunity, as I said before. They were ranked, they ended up, 18th? Was it 18th left in the nation?
Yeah.
I think it was between 18 and 20, depending upon the website you went to. And that was with a mid rushing defense, in my opinion.
So it was mid?
Yeah. They didn't stop the run the way they needed to. I'm gonna say this, Left. Defensive upside for Notre Dame's defense, in my opinion, is I'm just gonna say top 10. I'll say top 10.
I'll say top 10. I'll go that far.
I'll say top 10. I'll say top 10. And for me, the biggest impact will be the linebackers.
Yes.
You see, I came around on the defensive line long before you did. I was like, okay, I'm worried about these linebackers. And like they said, they returned seasoned linebackers, but not productive linebackers by the numbers.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not productive, but they're definitely impactful and important to the team.
So Benjamin Morrison, I think gets better. I think the defensive backfield
What's getting better when you have 7 picks in the season?
holding Marvin Harrison under 50 yards.
Yeah, it's like you're on a game to game, like
That's it.
incrementally better.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. It's
you're
not
not
even
like
no,
a
because
big
you only get 2 to 3 viable matchups a year when you're somebody like Benjamin
yeah,
Morrison.
you're only getting a couple
Yeah,
where you're like, man, I really got to put my big boy pants on,
absolutely.
improve my draft right here.
Yeah, so I think what we saw from Jaden Mickey makes you feel much better because we anticipate that Cam Hart at some point is probably going to have to miss a game. He's like the Chris Paul of the secondary for Notre
Oh,
Dame.
he is the Chris Paul to a T, to a T, right when you need him.
There's always something. And we fully expect that the growth from Jaden Mickey. And I keep telling people that Christian Gray, you know, they're very confident in what Christian Gray can bring to the table. And as confident as you feel about the defensive line, that's not even including Brendan Vernon, who reports in the summer. Like
Mm,
he didn't roll early. That's another body on the defensive line to help.
everybody.
Boubacar Traore,
True. Yeah, Boubacar is coming in.
like they have some guys coming in that might be able to contribute interior and on the outside. So it should be pretty interesting. It should be
Yeah,
pretty interesting.
I agree.
I think the defense has extreme upside because they're so much more athletic than what they've been as a defense, and that's the difference, in my opinion. They're so much more athletic, so now the ceiling is much higher. So you
Yeah.
talk about defensive upside. I think that pass defense can be top 10. I think the rush defense can be.
Top 25.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. I can rock with that. Now, what style of defense are they going to be? They've been very aggressive in the spring, in year 2 of Al Golden. Very aggressive and gave the quarterbacks a lot of trouble during the scrimmages. Do you think that's the same attack and same aggressiveness we'll see once the season starts from Al Golden and his defense?
Well, I think it becomes strategic at a point. Do you want to stay super aggressive when you're scoring a bunch of points? I mean, if anything, I think the power dynamic should shift to the defense being second fiddle to an offense that needs to be uh, the premier unit of the team. Because if our defense can be a top 10 defense, being a second tier unit or in support of the offense and not trying to crash out with a bunch of blitzes when we just need to keep them from the end zone, I think we can stay passive aggressive. We can be aggressive, but in spots, and we can have a, a strong attack scheme of blitzes and some man and some pressure, but do it with the situationally that if we're scoring 21 points, 28 points a half, then maybe we can play a couple zone blitzes, maybe play a little softer,
Mm-hmm.
because we're protecting the lead.
Yeah. Yeah. What are we going to do though, as far as style of play? If you have an explosive offense, most of the time you want an explosive defense that's built on turnovers rather than yardage and shutting teams down. That way, you're looking to turn the ball over. Oh, I thought
Um,
you were about to. Yeah, I thought you were
Oh
about
yeah,
to go. My
I thought you
fault.
were still going. Okay, yeah. So yes, you definitely want to take more risk. I think when you got guys like Ben Morrison that finds the football, can play the football well, and create turnovers that radiate throughout the secondary when you're getting pressure from your front seven. So we don't have to sell out with secondary blitzes as much as if we can bring a linebacker like Nolan Ziegler to hit home and to rush the passers to increase the secondary's productivity and turn the football over. So yeah, we want to be better with ball hawking skills, but I think that comes from a hurry in the quarterback, getting TFLs, stuff that we didn't hit on last year. Let's be honest, we had opportunities,
Hmm.
a lot of opportunities in the backfield where we're missing tackles. USC game's a perfect example. We're back there. Can't say they're blocking us necessarily. We're just missing the play. So if we can just capitalize on the missed opportunities when we were aggressive, I think you'll see a total change in the turnover ratio that we have on defense.
Lucky Lefty podcast, bro. As we get ready to get out of here, I have one thing to say. If and when Jason Robinson, who wide receiver in the 24 class out of Long Beach, if he commits to Notre Dame, Cam Williams, Isaiah Canyon, Micah Gilbert, and Robinson might be the best four receiver class to ever come through Notre Dame.
Yes, it would be the best class because we would have something of an it factor because I play against Jason Robinson. So it's uh it's a struggle because he's such a great route runner that's like, come on, we're just trying to play cover two on this guy the whole time. Put a safety over the top, play a flat player. But we'll have something that's different than having the receiver class of a Rico Flores, a Braylon James, and a Jordan Grayhouse or Jaden
Yeah,
Grayhouse.
yeah.
What an Isaiah Cannon, uh, uh, a class like that would be, and what it would mean is one, we're getting elite speed and dynamic route runners. We're getting the types of the Marquise Browns, the speedy, what we keep converting to Avery Davis and Chris Tyrese. We'll have guys that are technicians in that field. You see what I'm saying? So we don't have to convert our running backs and our quarterbacks to the receivers that we're getting with a Cam Williams, Isaiah Cannon, these guys that are what Carnell Tate would be to our offense now. A starter. You get a route running technician that's elite speed like a Jason Robinson and Isaiah Cannon and Cam Williams, and then mix that in there with the possession receivers of a JT, of a Jaden Grayhouse, of a Deion Cosley. Now you get the mix that's dangerous. Because you look at our room now and it's like, man, that's a good ass room, but we're missing that threat. We're missing something that's like, man, that's gonna be hard to stop. Yeah, they'll be productive. Yeah, they can make plays and all that, but it's like we need that lightning speed. That what Chris Tyree is gonna be big for us this year because we don't have that. So I think that class is gonna be the perfect mix of now we can get these quarterbacks in where they like, oh, this is yeah, I know we can block for me, but now we can throw. Oh, we got some CJ Carr is recruiting well, you know.
And look, I'm not mad when you come in and clean house or you want to get rid of old attitudes or whatever, right?
Yeah.
To elevate what you feel like is needed, right? When I look at the 23 class and I look at the 24 class, bro, This 24 class got me looking like Funk Flex was looking at Black Thought when he was freestyling, bro.
Yeah. This guy's killing it.
Like, yo, this class is bananas. It's bananas. Just the top end speed. To have top end speed and quickness mixed in with great route running, like I don't think people understand. Like you said, you play against Jason Robinson in Long Beach. This dude is recognized as one of the top route runners in the entire 24 class.
Where's the key? I got it.
And you add that quickness and speed to a class that already has top end speed and a 5-star, and Cam Williams. Man, kudos to Chancey Stuckey. Kudos to him having a vision for the class that he wants and what was needed. And, man, going and getting it. Going out and getting it. Going out and getting it. Kudos to you. I still need to see that production from that wide receiver group this year, though. That I need to see. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Apple Podcast, Spotify. Prayers go out to the people in Atlanta for the shooting at the hospital. Craziness all over the place. Yeah, man. Just prayers to everyone. Be safe. Be vigilant, perceptive, and just pay attention when you go out, man, and be a helping hand to others, if you see something as well. I'm back home. Left. I'm not sure. I get in. I get in around 9:30 tomorrow.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'll be back to my office in time. At 11, but we'll let you guys know what time. We're definitely doing a show tomorrow. We just don't know the time yet. We just don't know the time yet because I'll be traveling early tomorrow. So, great show. We talked about development, how it relates to Notre Dame, the Power Football Index after the spring, and also the defensive upside of Notre Dame and where they rank as far as returning defenses in college football. So those of you that say, when are we going to talk about Notre Dame? We even got a little Justice Scott in there and the 24 class. I went out on a limb and said it might be the best four-person class at the position that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
All right. Great show, Left. You know what time it is.
Petticoat. Petticoat Junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty history? Petty Junction.
Petty Junction, pettiest story of the day brought to you by Onora Whsikey and NoraWhsikey.com and Premium American Whiskey and NoraWhsikey.com. Go ahead and throw your people on the petty train, man.
I want to throw the entire MVP selection committee on the petty train. 19 years. 19 years since
they finally got it right. They finally got it right.
Into the NBA.
They finally got it right.
You get MVP votes every single year. And in year 20, you get 0? How is that possible?
Didn't deserve it.
Whoa, wait a minute.
You can wait all you want to. He didn't deserve it.
38.
I don't care. He didn't deserve it.
He's 38 a year 20.
He didn't deserve it.
How do you not deserve it when one, if it wasn't for him, they wouldn't even be in the playoffs right now.
That's cap. That's
AD
cap.
was hurt.
You're
AD
not
been
about
hurt all
you're not
season.
about you're not about the disrespect. When Bron got hurt and they were making that run and AD stepped up. I'm not about to allow you to disrespect AD
For
like
a part
that.
of the season.
Late in the season, AD
For a
stepped
part
up when
of the
Bron
season.
was out. Stop.
AD
We're not
has
about
been
to
out
do
the
that.
majority of the
We're
season.
not about to do that. When Bron got hurt, they were the 11th seed. They were like the 11th, 12th seed when Bron got hurt. And they went on that run with AD leading the way. We're not going to do that. You can go ahead. Go ahead.
To not give this man one MVP vote,
He didn't deserve it.
that shows that the NBA is totally unserious about the MVP. Totally unserious.
So wait a minute. So you saying Joel Embiid didn't deserve the MVP?
I said for LeBron James to not get one, and you've been getting one for 19 years straight, that's petty. That's ultra petty for a man that became the greatest scorer of all time in this season. In this season.
Bro, let me tell you something, man. The NBA finally got it right.
That's crazy.
They stopped giving away parting gifts
Oh,
at the
parting
end of the
gifts.
season.
Parting gifts. He earned it.
Yes.
20 years to be the greatest scorer of all time. He earned it.
What did he earn, bro?
The greatest scorer of all time.
That was nothing about
to still be playing in the playoffs and leading your team against an overhyped Golden State.
now Golden State is overhyped. Man, I tell you, boy.
Compared to LeBron James and what he's
Oh,
doing.
I didn't know winning championships is hype. I didn't know winning championships is hype. I didn't know you could win a championship and be overhyped.
It's overhyped to say this is a rivalry. That's overhyped. That's what I'm talking about. It's overhyped to say Steph and LeBron is some rivalry. Check the stats. What's the matchup say? LeBron James solidified him being the greatest of all time, coming down 3-1 from one of the greatest teams constructed ever.
Dude, what? They were a better team the next year with KD. What are you talking about? One of the greatest teams ever constructed. Now you're capping.
73-9.
Now you're capping. Now you're capping.
They were 73-9.
You're capping.
That's not a cap. They were 73-9.
That is cap.
They were 73-9. They had the
And
greatest.
it don't mean a darn thing. And it doesn't mean a darn thing.
Oh, it don't mean a darn thing. Okay.
Because they didn't win. I don't care what your record is if you don't win a championship.
Oh, now the record don't matter because they didn't. Okay. You see how you moved the goalpost?
Dude.
So the level of difficulty didn't matter because they lost.
Capping. Stop capping. In every sport, you had 2 number 1 seeds lose this year that had all-time records. The Boston Bruins had an all-time record, and they lost in the first round to the Florida Panthers. And you trying to sit up here and act like, man, who cares? It's about the championship.
There's never been an NBA team constructed to win 73 games like the Golden State Warriors did that year.
And there's never been a team constructed to win 72 and a championship like the Chicago Bulls. So what's your point?
The point is the greatest team was taken down by one man, averaging 41 and 11.
So what was up with the other dude that averaged 39 in the same 3 games?
41 and 11 took down the greatest constructed regular season team of all.
The game winning 3-pointer in game 7 was by who?
You talking about a shot?
See, dude, I can't rock with you, man. I'm about to cut you off, dude, because you get delusional when you talk about LeBron James because you try to make it seem like it's all about him. And he had no help. And like Chris Bosh and D Wade was no help at all in Miami. None.
D Wade taught him how to win, for sure.
This is a cap. This is why it's cap.
D Wade taught him how to win, for sure.
You can't go from complaining that he didn't have help before
Did he
Miami.
have help against the Spurs, against 4 Hall of Famers?
Let me finish. You can't say he didn't have help and that's your argument, and then go and say he's the reason why he won all the championships. Either you need help to win or you don't. You can't have it both ways.
Two things can be true, though.
Oh, my God.
Two things can be true.
Man, Lucky Lefty podcast.
Against the Spurs, when it was 4 Hall of Famers against just LeBron James, is that not a situation where the man needs help? Absolutely.
So he faced the Spurs by himself.
He faced his 4 Hall of Famers against 1 Hall of Famer. Yes, he did. That was the matchup. Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili versus LeBron James. He had Zildjiūnas Ilgauskas, Boobie Miles, Larry Hughes, Drew Gooden. Who are these guys?
Okay, so
Drew Parker. Remember Drew Parker?
Once again, thank you for proving my point. You can't blame Bron because he didn't have help, but then when he had help, say Bron is the reason they won the championship. It's because of LeBron James. Either you need help to win championships or you don't.
Would not have a championship without LeBron James playing on that team. That's a fact.
And the Chicago Bulls wouldn't be worth the second highest rated NBA or third highest rated NBA franchise in the world if it wasn't for Michael Jordan. So what's your point, bro? What's your point?
Being third and doing something that's never been done are two different things.
Has LeBron ever won?
Cleveland has never won a championship till LeBron got there.
You're right. Chicago had never, wait. Chicago had never won a championship until Michael Jordan got there. So what's your point? Tell me something that's new.
That Chicago is a way bigger market than little old Cleveland, little old Akron.
Now we're going to market size.
I'm just saying. What's more impressive? Y'all got all that stuff up there and just little old LeBron from little old Akron. Just doing it for the city, man. Doing it for the hometown. Can't get much better than that, man.
And for Irish, man, look, my point is it takes a team to win a championship. See, I'm not one of these LeBron ballologists that like to massage his balls and make him to be the reason that the world moves and the sun, like everything revolves around LeBron James. I'm not one of those dudes. I'm just not. I understand that basketball.
We give credit where credit is due.
But I also understand how to recognize greatness in the midst of team sports. And the LeBron sexuals, as they're called on social media, which I'm trying to get my boy not to be a part of, that just has some objectivity.
It is objective.
Like, you can't claim he didn't have help, but then go say he's the reason. Come on, boy. Like, just let the man give credit. I'll say this in closing. For 6 seasons, think about this. Because think about this. The fact that this dude won.
You talking about Michael Jordan?
The fact that this dude won 2 3-peats is ridiculous. I don't know why people just try to poo-poo like winning 3 in a row. Like, oh, that's easy. Oh, it's easy to win 3 in a row. Like, that's easy. Golden State wasn't able to do it. The Miami Heat with Bron, they weren't able to do it, but it's so easy.
LeBron just went to 9 straight finals.
Everybody, you're right. You're right.
9 straight. You know how many games that is?
And he's sub 500.
That's the NBA market.
He was sub 500 in those
10
finals.
years, LeBron carried the NBA for 10 years.
But this is where I get you. But since you say everything is about LeBron and he's the reason, then he was the reason they lost in those finals. No. If he's the reason they won, he's the reason they lost
against the Spurs. Really?
That's your theory. I'm using your theory and your words.
You know that's not true.
No, I don't know anything. I'm going based upon what you said. All I know is anytime Michael Jordan played a full regular season, he won 6 straight championships. That's insane. That's insane. The only time he didn't win is when he didn't play a full regular season. That's insane.
Okay,
That's insane.
what happened to all those other seasons? Did they not play championships in all the
Let me
other
ask you a
seasons?
question. Did it take LeBron 2 seasons to make the playoffs?
Wait a minute.
I'm asking a question.
Did LeBron get bounced in the first round when he had 63 points against the Celtics? What about that? When has LeBron got bounced in the first round like that?
Did LeBron make the playoffs his first 2 years in the league? Just answer the question.
What does that have to do with anything? He's
Answer
played
the
20.
question.
He's played 20.
It doesn't make a difference.
He's played 20.
Did he make the
It's starting
playoffs?
It's starting to blur. I just feel like he made it every year because he's played 20
No,
years.
it ain't no blur. There is no blur. Did he make the playoffs the first 2 years? There is no blur.
The team was trash. It was Cleveland.
Here we go. Here we go.
It was Cleveland. He was the first pick to the trashiest team for a reason.
Here we go. Bro, Michael Jordan had drug addicts on his team, bro. It's documented. They wrote articles about it. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
LeBron played with a dude that slept with his mom. So what is that? That's even worse.
That's saying more about LeBron and his family structure. What you talking about?
Oh, now we talking about family structure.
What you trying to say?
We're trying to say there's worse conditions. That's
I don't think you should talk about LeBron like that, my brother. Don't talk about him like that, man. That's his family issues, man. It has nothing to do with our show.
That's worse than drug. That's those family issues. Having drug problems.
Hey, man, I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's right, Roger Dodger. MJ played against drug users also.
Really? Come on, man. Hey, the biggest drug user, biggest drug user in the NBA is LeBron.
Oh, okay, enough.
Boom! 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 We'll see you tomorrow.
It's been a great show.
We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow for another great episode. Yeah,
because he got money to take care of himself.
Sitting up here pounding your chest. 20 years. Yeah, 20 years of injections. So Lucky Lefty podcast for left.
Cease and desist after that.
Man, you can send whatever. Talk to you tomorrow.